Does this seem ridiculous to you? How about this? While most of us would never consider doing a puzzle or juggling while performing our jobs, we often don't give a second thought to sending and receiving text messages as we complete our daily tasks. Of the 3 billion texts sent each day, a large number of them are now being sent from and received in the workplace. Of course, we are all aware of the hazards of texting while driving. But sending and receiving text messages at work can be just as dangerous. And, as Ramon Jameson learned, this lack of concentration can lead to injuries, property damage, and worse.
I usually keep my phone in my locker every morning, but my wife was having an ultrasound that morning, and I wanted to know if we were having a little boy or a little girl, so I kept my phone with me. I was moving stacks of pallets in the storage yard, and that's when the message alert went off. I was just so excited about finding out that I didn't even think about not checking my text. So when the message went off, that's when I looked down at the phone, and I had to focus for a moment just to select and read the text. That's when Ronnie suddenly walked in front of the forklift, and I didn't even see him until I heard him shout. The thought of anyone walking in front of my forklift was the furthest thing from my mind.
What should have been one of the best days of his life ended up being one of the worst. Not only did Ramon lose his job for violating his company's rules on cell phone use, his actions caused the death of a friend and a coworker. Most organizations have restrictions regarding cell phone use and texting. It is your responsibility to know how your company's rules apply to you and always follow them accordingly. Of course, even if no published rules exist, attempting to use your phone for texting, updating social media, or even checking the weather while performing any type of hazardous job function or driving is just plain dangerous and should not be attempted. Of course, even in a non-hazardous situation, sending and receiving personal text messages and performing other phone-based activities not only takes your focus off your job tasks, it also takes time. Time that should be spent performing your job. If cell phone use is prohibited at your workplace, hiding in closets and frequently visiting restrooms to send and receive texts is still a violation of company policy, for which you may also be punished. Instead, simply get in the habit of sending and receiving text messages before you clock in, during one of your breaks, or after you clock out. Of course, most companies have a procedure that allows employees to be reached in an actual emergency. Whatever the plan, make sure your family and friends know what it is, so you may be contacted in a true emergency. Don't use the excuse of needing to be reached in an emergency as a reason to violate company policies limiting phone use. Of course, while many companies forbid texting and cell phone use altogether, others allow it under certain circumstances. Be aware that if your company provides you with a cell phone, any messages you send or receive on it are considered company property. Your employer has the right to monitor these messages, so you should not expect them to be private. Of course, whether you are provided with a cell phone at work or permitted to use your own, always follow your organization's guidelines and your safety sense to determine when it should be used, something Mike McLeod neglected to do.
I was in the waste treatment room adding some chemicals to the process and doing a little cleaning up. My supervisor Gary was on the other side of the plant and said he'd text me what to do next. I was almost finished when I heard my phone beep. I knew I wasn't supposed to check my phone in areas containing chemicals, but I never understood why, so I checked it anyway. Gary said he wanted to meet me to go over some plans. I replied that I was on my way. I answered a call from another maintenance guy on my way to meet Gary. When going over the plans, suddenly my eyes started burning like crazy and I couldn't see. I had to ask Gary to help me.
Hey Gary, my eyes are burning really bad. Can you help me? I think I got something now.
Let me get to the eye wash.
Thank goodness Gary was there to help me to the eye wash station. Turns out I got lime on my phone in the waste treatment area and then rubbed my eyes after using it later. now I know why I'm not supposed to use it in chemical areas.
Employees who work in areas containing hazardous substances already understand not to eat, drink, or apply makeup in these areas due to the risk of contamination. As this example illustrates, they must now add not using their phone to this list of banned practices in hazardous areas. Keep in mind that this also includes areas near flammables as well as explosive atmospheres. To avoid committing unsafe acts, we must make safety our top priority in every task we perform. We must adopt an attitude that our primary goal is doing every job as safely as possible. Maintaining this attitude will help us recognize situations where use of cell phones would not only interfere in our ability to perform our tasks without injury, but also hinder us from completing our jobs in a timely manner. And as we have seen in this program, we must be able to recognize and reject the excuses we often make for texting when we know it is unsafe or prohibited by policy. Finally, we must be willing to speak up when we see people putting themselves in harm's way by texting while performing their job duties. So, what it all boils down to is this. Our phones are powerful tools which allow us to have instant access to information and communication. When used appropriately, these devices can make our lives easier and more enjoyable. But when used at the wrong time and in the wrong manner, these same devices can get us in trouble at work and cause serious injury. It's up to you to use your safety sense and your understanding of your organization's rules and procedures to know the difference. Now go have a good day and a safe day.